What up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are back out here on the Oregon coast and we're showing you guys how I shoot and edit on my iPhone. Before we get started, we're just gonna kind of go over what we're working with. So this is the regular iPhone 11 and on here I have the regular camera lens and also the wide angle camera lens. My favorite features about the iPhone is a wide angle lens. This lens allows you to capture a lot more in the frame and kind of just add to the overall image. So we just made it to the next location. Obviously we're not getting the weather we're hoping for, but sometimes you got to do what you can with what you got. So when I shoot this photo right here, I'm going to shoot it on the wide angle lens and I'm going to frame the left side of the photo with the land and then get the ocean in the other half of the image. Alright, so we made it to the last stop of the day. It's the Heceta Head Lighthouse, a classic stop on the Oregon coast. We're going to shoot some blue hour photos on the iPhone 11. Let's get it. Alright guys, so we are back home now and we edited a few photos from the trip to the coast. And I'm just going to kind of show you guys my workflow in how I go about that when I'm editing on my iPhone. Alright, so the app I'm going to use is going to be called VSCO. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of it. If you haven't, go check it out. It's a great app to edit photos. That is what I typically use when I edit photos on my iPhone, just because my workflow is super fast and super easy when I'm inside the app. So, I have 3 photos from the coast. This first photo is going to be from the first stop we did. So when in VSCO, I usually use a preset called M5. It's probably the most popular preset they have. Personally, it is my favorite. So let's hop right in this photo and let's get to it. Alright, so as you guys saw, I did the contrast. I am going to up the exposure just a hair. And what I found when I use M5, I find that it desaturates the photo a little bit. So I like to go ahead and add some saturation back in post. Usually go about between 1 to 1.5, probably go like that. Then also M5 warms the photo up as well, so I always go ahead and adjust the white balance as well. Probably go a little more toward orange on the temperature. And the tint, lately I've been going into green. I used to add a lot of purple in my photos, but now I've kind of been leaning with green lately. That's kind of like the way it looks. Yeah, it's looking pretty good so far. And one thing I love about VSCO is the highlight and shadow sliders. So if you swipe the highlights all the way to 12, it brings the highlight level down. And if you swipe the shadows up, it obviously brings the shadows up. So I usually like to bring the shadows up, bring the highlights down, kind of just to balance out the image overall, just like that. And then when you hit the skin tone slider, go to the right, it goes more like a yellow, and then to the left, and more orange. I like adding orange in my photos, so I usually go to the left, probably about right there for that one. And the grain, I absolutely love the grain in VSCO. I really don't know what the difference is between like other grain, but I feel like this just looks better. So here we go. I usually go between 2.5 and 3.5. Let's go ahead with 3 on that one. And the highlights are, as you guys can see in the top left corner, there's a little bit of yellow on the highlights. So I'm going ahead and try to bring out that color a little bit by adding some orange up there. Probably about right there. And shadow, try blue. No, I don't really like that. Nah, probably just add a touch of red. Yeah, just like that. Probably go back and add a little more contrast just to really bring out the sky. Alright, yeah, so just like that. As you guys can see, that is a pretty big difference already. And will that take me maybe a minute to edit that photo? So like I said, my workflow is pretty quick, pretty easy, and yeah. And I'll go ahead and save this to save it as a draft. All right, and for this second photo, we have one more where we are on the beach, kind of just looking down the coastline. This one has even less color than the last one we did, so go ahead and put M5 on there. Just that slider, probably go about 7, let's go 8, yeah. All right, add a little contrast, make it pop. Add some saturation like the last one, like I said, probably go about 1.5 just so the greens in the left really pop and the color in the sky is a little more. And then slide the skin tone to orange. And adjust, like I said, I like bringing the highlights up, or basically muting the highlights, and then bringing the shadows up a little bit to create more of a flat image. This just allows me to kind of bring the colors out better and kind of just adjust the light overall. And I go ahead and white balance, and like I said, add a little orange, a little touch of green like that. And this one looks a little crooked as well. That is something that absolutely drives me crazy, is when my pictures don't have like a straight line as a horizon line. I'll sit here and do this till it is perfectly straight, probably about right there. Yeah, actually probably a little different. About right there. Yeah, looks good. All right, and then I'm going to go to the grain. Probably about 3.5 again. 3.5 seems to be a good amount. It's enough where you can see it, but it's not too much where it kind of takes over like the attention from the actual photo itself. So that's a good amount. That's looking good already. Add a little orange to the highlight. No, let's try blue. Yeah, add a little blue to that. Kind of bring out the blue color in the sky. Give that side of the photo a little more something to it. Because the green in the bottom left corner, the green and yellow kind of really grabs your attention. So if I add some blue over here, it'll kind of help balance out the whole color layout of the photo. And go add a little more contrast, make it pop a little bit. Probably about 2.5. And should go mute the highlights a little more. Blow up the exposure maybe a little too much. The highlights are a little bright. Bring that down. Go back to these shadows. As you guys can see, I kind of just bounce back and forth between different things until I get the look I'm going for on this. Alright, actually I'm going to change the skin tone. I think it's a little too red. We go about 0.5. Yeah, just like that. Alright, perfect. And yeah, and like I said, this is super quick, super easy. Great thing I like to do when I'm on the road on like a trip, or if I'm just sitting in the car somewhere, hop on VSCO, edit some photos. This is perfect. All right, and this third and final image we have is going to be from the Cedar Head Lighthouse. This is just from a lookout on the highway. This is usually a spot I stop at pretty much every time I drive by. Just a super dope little spot. Love going there like blue hour like this image, so you can get the little beam from the lighthouse in it. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and add M5 again. Probably go about 6 on this one. Yeah, all right. And go ahead and make sure it is straight. Be about right there, that's good. Maybe not. Probably right there. Actually, no, that's crooked too. Oh my god. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Alright, and boost the contrast. Up the exposure just a hair. That way I can bring the highlights down without it getting super dark. On this one, I know I said earlier I like to bring the shadows up, but I kind of like the contrast already in this. Kind of shows you that it's getting dark outside and kind of just like the blue hour mood, I guess, if you want to call it. Bring the shadows up just a hair and add that saturation. Skin tone doesn't really affect anything in this, so it's going right there. Grain, add only 3 grain to this, just because it's blue hour, so there is already a little more natural grain. Yeah. Photo looks a little crooked still. Right there. Yeah, there we go. Add a little more contrast. And highlight blue. I go a little more orange, kind of add a little more warmness to the sky, and kind of just contrast that blue a little bit. Do shadow. Honestly, I don't really tone the shadows in a lot of my images. I just like toning the highlights because in my images, I feel like the highlights are the focal point. So that's where all the attention is going to be. And yeah, I kind of just really like to dial those in. And I'm actually going to crop this a little bit because the beam isn't actually centered in the middle, and that will drive me crazy. That looks good. Maybe add a little more contrast. And yeah, that looks good. So that is the before and after on that image. And yeah, we're done with that one. Perfect. Alright guys, that was a pretty quick little edit session I had here on VSCO. I hope that kind of just gave you guys like a little insight on my workflow and kind of just my ideas on how I edit, and I hope the earlier part of this video kind of just gave you guys a little insight on what it's like when I'm out shooting only using my iPhone. iPhones are honestly becoming great cameras. I always have mine with me obviously because it's my phone. So I love just snapping some photos, throwing them in VSCO real quick, getting a quick edit on them, and yeah, super dope. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss any future videos, and yeah, see you guys in the next one.